And for there's still 5 years of famine ahead of us, otherwise your household and all your animals will starve. So Joseph added, look, you can see for yourselves, go, and so you can, my brother Benjamin, that I'm really Joseph. So tell my father of my honored position. Weeping with joy, he embraced Benjamin, and Benjamin did the same. Joseph kissed each of his brothers and wept over them, and after that they began talking freely with him. The news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had arrived, and so his officials were delighted to hear this. And he said, go tell your brothers to load up the pack animals and hurry back to the land of Canaan. Then get your father and all your families and return here to me, and I will give you the very best land in Egypt, and you will eat from it and the best that the land produces. And Pharaoh said, tell your brothers, take the wagons to carry all the children and the wives and bring your father. Don't worry about all your personal belongings because you'll have the best that Egypt has to offer. So don't worry, it'll all be yours. So the sons of Jacob did as they were told. And he gave each of them new clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 5 changes of clothes and 300 pieces of silver. That was very nice of Joseph. But anyway, Benjamin's very special here. Okay. So he sent his father 10 male donkeys, loaded them with fine products of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys, loaded them with grain and bread and other supplies that they would need on the journey. So Joseph sent his brothers off. They left. He called after them, don't quarrel about all this on the way. Isn't that just funny? Like, don't start talking about this and get in a big fight about it. Just go and do this thing. So they did. So they went to the daddy and to Jacob and said, Joseph's still alive. We're down in verse 26. And it says, the father's spirit revived. And in 28 it says, and Jacob exclaimed, it must be true. My son is alive. My son Joseph is alive. I must go and see him before I die. So now we're in chapter 46, which is the end of last week, now that we're 3 days into this week. Again, I'm sorry. So Jacob set out for Egypt with all his possessions. He offered sacrifices to God of his father, his God, and of his father Isaac. And during the night he spoke to him. God spoke to him in a vision, Jacob, Jacob. And Jacob replied, here I am. That's always the right response when God is speaking to your heart. Say, Lord, here I am. Speak to me, Lord, for your child is listening. I am God, the God of your father, the voice said. Do not be afraid to go to Egypt, for there I will make your family into a great nation. I will go with you. I will go with you. I will go with you. Down to Egypt I will bring you back again. You will die in Egypt, but Joseph will be close to your eyes. So he left. And he took his sons. And they acquired the land. I'm sorry, they took all the stuff that they had acquired in the land of Canaan. And then it goes to list all the descendants of Israel, the sons of Jacob, who went to Egypt. And their daughter Dinah. Did I see that right? These are the sons of Leah and Jacob who were born in Paddan in addition to their daughter Dinah. The number of Jacob's descendants was totaling, getting all the way down to verse 27. There were 70 members of Jacob's family in the land of Egypt. So 70 people. Alright, so then skip on down. It says that Joseph arrived with his chariot and traveled to Goshen to meet his father Jacob. So they met in Goshen. When Joseph arrived, he embraced his father and wept, holding him for a long time. Finally, Jacob said to Joseph, now I'm ready to die, since I've seen your face, and I know you are still alive. And Joseph said to his brothers and his father and his entire family, I will go to Pharaoh and tell him, my brothers and father's entire family have come from the land of Canaan. These men are shepherds, and they raise livestock. They have brought with them their flocks and herds and everything they own. Then he said, when Pharaoh calls for you and asks you about your occupation, you are to say, we are servants that raise livestock all our lives. When you tell him this, he will let you live here in the land of Goshen, for the Egyptians despise shepherds. It's just interesting, this whole relationship between the Hebrews, especially the shepherds. Especially when very important shepherd who will be the flock of all sheep. The Egypts who worshipped other gods couldn't stand the Hebrew people. So, you're starting to see it weaving. Okay. So now we're in chapter 47. I'm going to get a little bit into it, and then we'll change videos for the sake of getting into this week. Because in this week, you will be reading, starting with Monday, 47 through 50. But I'm just going to, just the start of 47. Because it says, Then Joseph went to see the Pharaoh and told him, My brothers and father have arrived in the land of Canaan. Because they came with all their flocks and herds and possessions, they are now in the region of Goshen. And he took his brothers with him and presented them to the Pharaoh. And he says, What's your occupation? And they said, We're shepherds, just like our ancestors. And the Pharaoh said to Joseph, Now that your father and brothers have joined you here, choose any place you want in the land of Egypt. Let them live in the region of Goshen. And if they have any special skills, put them in charge of my livestock too. And Joseph brought his father Jacob and presented him to the Pharaoh. So now Joseph finally gets to bring his dad to the king of Egypt, and Jacob blesses the king of Egypt. How old are you? Pharaoh says. Jacob replies, I have traveled this earth for 130 hard years. But my life has been short compared to the life of my ancestors. Then Jacob blessed the Pharaoh again before leaving the court. The Egyptians hate the Hebrews. Joseph has gained favor with the Pharaoh. Joseph brings his dad to the Pharaoh, and his dad, a Hebrew, blesses Pharaoh twice. Joseph assigned the best of Egypt, the land of Ramses, to his father and his brothers, and he settled them there just as the Pharaoh had commanded. So that was the region of Goshen. Now, we're going to leave it there and start a new week. And I'm actually going to film it right after this. I'll also be doing the same clothes. But I do want to make it a separate video. I love you guys. Thank you for being patient to get that week over with. But boy, did we learn a lot. I'm sorry that it took me so long, but we're going to go through this Bible and really digest it, not just read or me ask a question. We're not sitting in a room together where you can just answer. And I don't honestly think that using somebody else's guide to say, ask you these questions, how about we just talk about the Bible and we ask ourselves questions? Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's always good when you have a Bible study group to trigger discussion. But what I would ask you is, what is God speaking to your heart about what you have learned from this family and man and the nature of mankind and all of our sinfulness? Is there anything God's brought to your heart? This isn't something you have to answer me, or unless you just want to share something in the group, you can comment below, because we are a Bible study group here, right, on YouTube. But is there anything that God has put on your heart about, wow, God showed me something in this? Share that if you'd like to. You don't have to. But I hope that you aren't just reading the Bible and not stopping to consider how it applies to your life. And you're thinking, well, this is a story about ancient people. That's why I purposely have digested it a little bit for you, so you can say, yeah, but some of the stuff, some of the things we're learning, it wasn't that great. The people really were terrible at times. They certainly were terrible to each other, sometimes terrible to God. But it was the truth of mankind, and we need to know the story, and we need to see, what did God do about it? How did they interact with each other? And what can we learn about how we interact with each other and how we interact with God? What can we learn from it? I don't want to just read through the Bible and go, okay, I finished that chapter, check. No. This is a relationship with God. This is His Word. And remember, in John chapter 1, verse 14, it says that the Word itself became incarnate. He became a man. The Word of God became Jesus, and He made His dwelling among us. This Word should be ingested into who we are, and we should meditate on it night and day. These stories matter. They matter to you. They matter to me individually and collectively. And it's amazing what God is going to show you and me. I know He's already started showing me stuff. So, I love you guys. I did share this in another video, but I'm going to be personal with y'all so that y'all will try to do this with yourself and maybe with others if you want to. In seeing all these stories of sibling rivalry and jealousy of birth order, I used to have that with my sister. And I didn't realize that I hadn't totally given that up until I read this and realized, I think my parents did favor my older sister. I love her dearly, but I did feel like she was favored. And I always understood it was because they really tried hard to have children and couldn't for years and years. So when she finally did come, I think they were just so taken with her. And then I came 3 years later, so it was still hard for them to get me as well. And I was the baby, so she probably would tell you, yo, you're the baby, you were treated blah, 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 you got better treatment, blah. It's just our human nature, isn't it, to have a self-focused, immature, sinful attitude. And it showed me, what if she was favored? What if we do have a favoritism showing up in someone else? Someone else may get something better than you. If that's how God orders it, then leave it alone. Trust God. You know what? Here's another one. I never got to have children. And I've wondered why. Why would all these women, especially women who have aborted their babies, they got that privilege and they gave it up. And if you're one of those people, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying I never even got the chance. And it's like my children are my husband's children who have a mom. So I'm a stepmom. I'm a spiritual mom. But God taught me that's enough. You see, we're going to be learning things every time we get in this Word of God. Y'all share something below if you want to. I love y'all. And I'll see you in week 2, chapter 47. Love y'all.